Yeah, I will discuss what AWLESS is first, using slides, and then we'll switch to a bit more demo, because it's a tool, so it needs to be demo. So, just a bit about AWLESS. So it's a CLI that I started with my team at WALLIX. So basically, it's a tool that we built for a community project, starting from our own needs. So basically, we wanted something very repeatable to deploy bits of infrastructure on AWS. So we use AWS for our customers quite a lot ourselves. And we don't like graphical interface. We like CLI tools much more. So basically, we were very dissatisfied with the current one, and we decided to make our own. Just so you know, so WALLIX, we are a cybersecurity company. We are one of the world leaders for PAM, which is called Privileged Access Management. So basically, we protect access to instances in cloud and non-cloud environments. Lots of customers, most of the big French companies and other worldwide. And we have also one guy here in Poland, Pavel, who invited me talking to me right here. So basically, if you want to contact him to know more about WALLIX, it's Pride, Pavel Repchik, sorry if I don't pronounce correctly, at wallix.com. And that's it, so I won't talk any more about the company, but let me know afterwards if you have questions. So, AWS is now more than 100 different services. And hopefully there is, so now it's a bit old screenshot, they changed things a bit, but it's even more complicated than before. So as time goes by, you have a very deep web interface. When you go into details, you have lots of items on the left. You never have to forget the region on top, because all the time you're testing, like you don't find your resources, just the wrong region, guys. So you need to find them out, and you have to configure many things, and it usually pops up with, of course, a lot of items which you have to fill, but it's very easy for EC2 and subnet when you know it pretty well. But if you use many services, it's a nightmare to navigate through this. So there is a GUI for AWS. It's very nice for discovery when we want to learn about new services. It's pretty good to see what's in store for us. But it's not repeatable. It is not scriptable, etc., etc. And also, you have a lot of opportunities to hide important knowledge. So basically, you know that box where you ticked somehow in a hidden tab, that's the one you'll be missing when you repeat the steps, and it's not working the next time. Why? Of course, because you have to find back. It's not easy to explain to other people on your team. So when you are using Slack, you're chatting, click here, that doesn't fit very well. And on Skype, it's not better, like you share the screen and then the other guys try to repeat it. Also, basically, if you want to log everything you do, you can use a service which is called CloudTrail, which many of you, I guess, know of. But CloudTrail doesn't tell where to click. It will list all the API calls, but then if you only use the GUI, you have to find out where you clicked to make that API call. So it's not optimal. Instead, you have AWS-CLI. So the AWS-CLI, you can do a lot of things, and it will shout to you a lot of JSON, and it's very hard to grasp the info from this. I went to a hackathon in Paris not long ago, a few months ago, with own AWS teams, so you have AWS experts from AWS, and basically when we told them, hey, but we want to do this, but only using the CLI, you don't have no right to the console. And they say, oh yeah, that's very interesting, so let's try. And basically, even their own teams couldn't do the goal of the hackathons using the CLI. They were stuck. And they say, oh, sorry, no, now we had a CloudFormation template, but we don't know how to grab one of the IDs we really need using the console, or the CLI, sorry. So they reverted to finding out this in the console. Of course, when you don't want to just input to output information, but input information, then it becomes a nightmare because you have to remain all those image IDs, subnet IDs. So it will take a lot of time to do other queries to get the information you want, just to pass them, very long command line. Even though there are some tools like AWS Shell, which help a bit. They are just a patch on top of AWS CLI. So it's nice for repeatability, but it's ID driven. You have to remember keys. You have to run long sequences of commands. Sometimes you have, when you deal with policies, you have to fire up your preferred editor, maybe VI, Emacs, or whatever. No trolling here. And basically, then you have to edit some JSON files and to send the JSON files to the command line. And all for what? To get a complex and very verbose output. And the history, where do you find it? You find it in Bash history, maybe, if you're using Bash. So that's not optimal as well. And that's why there are many people who are well known. So that guy is a spy, of course, because he tweeted that and then straight afterwards went to Google. That was his way to get hired. But basically, many people like the fact when you say, Google Cloud does better CLI than AWS. So that's here, we find out that really there's nothing more that we can do here. So that's why we built AWLESS. So it's a plain world on a small English, on an old English world, AWLESS, which does not exist very much nowadays. A bit the contrary of OVO. It's an easy-to-use CLI with a templating engine built in, and which will keep all the local model of the graph of your infrastructure, your cloud infrastructure, as a graph locally. So in fact, you have all the information from AWS locally, which means that we can query this even without doing queries to AWS and finding out all the IDs we need to complete the commands that we are doing. And also, we are working right now quite a lot on history and reversibility. And I will show this to you during the demo. Basically, when you run bits of templates, you can undo them when you want, even if they are quite complex. And we support already many services, EC2, VPC, S3, RTS, Root v3, Lambda. So I would say all the foundation, and of course we don't have the full coverage right now. That's why if there are some people willing to contribute, and they will come next, you're welcome. It's a fully open source project. It will not be monetized at all. That is really what we built for us, and just say, okay, we can do some branding for the company with that, but nothing else. We have other products to sell. So, just to install AWLESS, so AWLESS is fully Apache licensed. As I said, there is no Pro or other version, so the full version is the GitHub one. It's built using Go. So I don't know if there are many Gophers around here, but if so, you're glad to join. If not, that's a good occasion to learn about Go. So basically, if you want to install using Go, if you have Go installed, you just say go get. GitHub.com WALLIX. Or if you're using a Mac, we have Homebrew package. So basically you can just brew tab and brew install. Or if you want, you can download binaries, which we built using our CI, using from the repository. So when you run AWLESS the first time, if you already use AWS CLI, which means basically that you have your credentials filed on a .aws directory, there is nothing to do. We'll go into there and grab the access to AWS from there. And you can also use a command which is called AWLESS complete, which you put into your ZSH-RC or -RC, so you will have auto-completion. So what is AWLESS? And these diagrams tell the most of it. So basically, we took the inspiration of Git. And instead of having AWS service name and several commands, what we do is we have AWLESS, one verb, and then one entity. So as you can see, we define the following verbs, which are attach, detach, check, create, delete, start, stop, and update. And this is, right now, all the kind of entities that we support for these different verbs. And our vision here is to get a full coverage, basically to have as many verbs as required to do all the features on all the AWS entities that we can find. So of course, obviously it's not complete. We'll see no cases, no much data lakes here, but it's going to be added hopefully soon, either by us or by contributors like you. So this is the one-liner where you can have a verb and an entity, and as you will see, either you will pass parameters on the command line, or AWLESS will ask for them. We also have a few other commands, like completion to set up the auto-completion, config to have default parameters, inspect to inspect one element, a list, which I'll show, to list all the resources that we have, log, which is the history feature, and I will show this to you during the demo, revert to revert a script, run to run a script, search to search for values somewhere in the infrastructure graph, show to display all the details and relation about any object which you may have. SSH is very easy. You can SSH to an instance automatically. So I will show you that. And we have a switch tag which enables to switch regions very easily, or to switch profiles. So basically you can switch users by just typing one command, and then your whole environment gets changed. Let's see some examples. So for instance, when we want to list things, we can say, oh, let's list instances, and we will have our list of instances in the current region. We can add a filter on type, we can, or whatever, we can sort on any column, and basically we will output a very nice table. So this is by default very readable. If you want JSON, you can have this too. If you want, for instance, other format like CSV, you can add dash format CSV, and you will have the output of the command into CSV, so you can pipe it. And by default, note that this is valid markdown, so you can just take this, the output of AWLESS, and put it in some markdown files and make whatever you want with them. And we have also some color information which help us see, for instance, what instance is stopped in the list of instance. So this is list, a verb where you can list all the entities that AWLESS supports very easily with filter, with sorting. Also, what is very interesting, for instance, when you are in a plane or when you have a network disruption or you don't have Wi-Fi somewhere, is the -- local command. So basically, let's say that we don't have network. We have no connectivity. So basically we said, oh, let's list instances, and you will get an error message because we can't make a query to AWS. But then, if you had -- local, we will just use the local graph, which is a cache of the real AWS infrastructure, and then you will have your result, even though you don't have internet. So you can do a lot of things, even without connectivity, and that's very helpful when you need it. Then, the detailed command is AWLESS show. So for instance, that you have an instance which is called test instance. By the way, note that we use names, which are a good practice for AWS to name your entities. So basically, we can AWLESS show just the name. We don't have to put the ID. We can put the ID, of course, if we have it, but the name is fine as well. And you will have all the property values, and even more interestingly, the graph. So here you have all the basic data, and here the graph, which tells you basically that this is in this region, in this VPC, in this subnet, there you have that instance. It also tells you, using the graph data, which is stored as RDF, so we took the semantic web semantic specification for that, and you can also tell what are the siblings. So basically, this other instance here is in the same subnet, which is a sibling definition in that case. So it is very useful to browse through your current infrastructure, and it also tells you that it depends on this given key pair, this security group, and this volume, which is mounted here on that instance. So that's pretty easy to navigate through everything you have. Beyond listing, you can create things. So for instance, you can create a key pair, and you just say, AWLESS, create key pair, and you give a name to my key pair, and that's it. It says, okay, it will generate the key pair locally, it will push then the key pair and register the key pair on AWS in a single command. And then, what you can do next, for instance, is create an instance using that key pair. You just say, okay, AWLESS create an instance with my key pair, with this subnet. Note that here also we use the name of the subnet and not the ID, and you will have auto-completion of that on your command line. So I will show this to you, so you don't have to remember things, you can just go through easily and give it in. When you say this, you see that there are a lot of parameters missing for the regular CLI. We did not tell what the AMI is, we did not tell what the size is. And I would say, of course, because those are defaults which you have already set in your config parameters. So basically, this is my preferred EMI for this region, and I will show you that you can use a distro config now. You say, okay, my preferred distro is Amazon Linux. You say distro in the parameters is Amazon Linux, and then it will automatically take the right AMI for the region that you're using. So if you switch region, if you use multiple regions, your AMI will change automatically, and you will do nothing for that. And also the type, we took T2 nano, and this is my default. If I don't specify a type on the instance, I will take that type by default. And it will also confirm. So you type this, AWLESS computes what is the actual command, displays the actual command, and you confirm that this is what you want or not. And then you can it says, okay, it's done, it's okay, and you can revert the template with an ID, which is given by AWLESS from its log, which we'll see in the AWLESS log. And basically later, if you say AWLESS revert from this ID, which you can grab from the log, then it will delete that instance. But if it's more complicated than that, it will undo several actions at once. If you don't specify anything, you just say AWLESS create instance, no parameters on the command line, then you will have, with auto-completion, it will ask for the name and the subnet, which are the missing information required to create that instance. And basically, and then the rest is the same. So you have the choice. Yeah?
Yeah, a question about the command line. Is there an option to display the names in the symbolic name, not the the subnet specifically?
Yeah.
I'd prefer to see it as the name in the output command, not as the number. Do you have such an option, or like -W for verbose output, or
yeah, but
human readable?
The subnet you see it here.
Yes.
So in fact, if you're inputting the name, and then it will answer with the real ID. So then you can see.
Yeah, and my question is, can you add an option to the output so it would show the ID that I provided?
You mean the output of the command?
Yes.
It is by default right now. It wasn't at the time of the screen grab, but now it is. It is by default, sorry. So you'll see during the demo. And then, even better, if I created my instance with a key pair, which I do have locally, you can just say AWLESS SSH, and it will automatically log you into that instance. So here what we do is we do automatic user detection, and we automate all the paths of logging to that. And we're using the Go SSL, Go TLS library for that. So it means that even on Windows, you don't need to have SSH installed on a Windows machine. AWLESS is sufficient for that. So next, I'm moving on to one of the more advanced features of AWLESS, which are templates. So basically, templates are a way to chain AWLESS commands together using a very simple script language, which is inspired by Bash a bit or by shell scripts. So the idea is you can assign the output of a given AWLESS command to a variable. And then you can reuse that variable as a parameter for a subsequent command. And this enables to write imperative style templates, which are very easy, for instance, compared to Terraform. So Terraform, you have to specify the whole architecture that you want, and this is a great tool. This is a great tool when you want to describe full infrastructures. But when you have bits of it, we find it much more easy to write AWLESS templates, so you can just add a bit, remove a bit, and work like patches, in fact, of the infrastructure. And note also that we have what we call the holes. So what we call holes are the parameters of the whole template. So basically, for instance, WordPress.subnet will be asked as an input when you launch the template. And that's why it's different than this, which is the output of a command inside the template. So this is about it, and these are the templates, which you can run using AWLESS run. And the template. The template can be either stored on a web HTTP server or a local file. And then, when you launch a template, it asks for all the holes in the template, and then resolve the template, saying, okay, I will run all this by running this template. Do you confirm? Yes. And then it says, okay, I'm creating this. And in the end, you can revert the whole template using a single command. So if you then revert this, it will revert the whole tree of commands. Just some news about the project right now. So we are version 0.1.8, which is already the 34th release since launch, which was about a year ago. So just to give you an idea, we have almost a weekly release schedule, each 1 or 2 weeks. And now we have more and more contributors. We have 11 contributors right now. So we are pretty happy that the community is growing. And this is a project that we open sourced only in February this year, so that's pretty recent. And as I said earlier, it's a fully community-oriented project. So we are really looking to contributors. In my team, there are 2 developers which are working almost half-time on that. I'm not coding myself in this project, but I'm doing the project the description. And basically, aside from this, we need contributors if we are going to map all the AWS services and make the best CLI out of there. So, and we can do this together. Just to give you an idea of the roadmap before we move to demo, what is the most asked is more services and more obscure features for those services. And then the main work that we will do now is support multiple accounts and regions, in that if you are, for instance, looking for an instance that is not in your current region, instead of saying not found or in whatever form, it will tell you, oh, this instance does not exist in that region, but we have one in that region. Do you want to switch? And if you want to switch, type AWLESS switch that region and then issue your command again. And we can do the same for multiple accounts. We have many users also who are asking about this, multiple accounts, maybe people who work for different companies or some companies which have very good security practices in which they split services between accounts. And so basically, we'll add support for that as well. And then our main also work after that will be to extend the templating language to have, let's say, Turing completeness, and so something like for loops and tests, basically. So that's about it. Our core priority is working in our team in multiple accounts, regions, and the templating language. And if you guys can start contributing, for instance, by adding more services, because that's easy, we will help you. Look at the issues on GitHub. Every time there's a contributor who's coming in, we welcome you, we'll tour you, we'll help you identifying the good resources. Just tell us you want to contribute and we will help you. So, just the links, of course, it's AWLESS.io. The Twitter is at AWLESS CLI. So, and I remember the contest. So, if you are tweeting about at AWLESS CLI, we'll count the likes at the end, and then I give you this sweatshirt. And you have also a growing templates repository, which is called AWLESS-templates. And there you can find pretty complex templates for more and more things. We have maybe 30, 40 of them right now, and growing. Okay, let's switch to demo. If you have questions, you can ask them now, and then I'll proceed to demo. Yeah.
How do you synchronize local data with the cloud?
Yeah. So how do we synchronize the data with the cloud? So we run, of course, queries on AWS, and each of the queries we run is stored in an RDF graph locally. So basically, we have a graph database, and each of the query we run, and the queries can be complex. So for instance, when we seek a region, we perform maybe 10, 15 queries, and all the results of those queries is stored in a graph. So then we have graph queries like Spark code queries that we can run on the graph, and which is used by AWS.
Okay, so if the user stops querying, the data will eventually become obsolete, right?
Yeah, so each time we work on a given entity, we synchronize that entity again. So for instance, when we sync a region, when we switch to a region, or originally we try to sync everything. And then, if we, for instance, create a new instance, we will sync the instances. And if we query a user, we will sync the new users, etc. So that's why we have, it's a cache, and we treat it as a cache, but we try to maintain it by little deltas when we can. So let's switch to this. So here, let's try to, if you don't mind.
No problem.
So basically, let's switch to a region first. So we can switch to, let's say, what region we don't use much? EU West 2, I think. So let's try to switch to EU West 2. So we just tell AWLESS switch, and that's it. So just to show what we have, we can, so lawless on my terminal is an alias for AWLESS -- local. So we can show the region, and basically it tells me that, we already have a few things in this, but that should be fine. So that's also pretty easy. When you show a region, you can have the list of the resources that you have in that region. So what we can do, for instance, here is we can list, for instance, the instances we have, and we don't have any. But we can list, for instance, the VPCs we have, and find that we have 3 of them, and that's the detail that we have for the VPC. If we want to show some details, we can show what a VPC is. So as you see, we have auto-completion, and we can, using the arrows, we can just switch. So we can say, for instance, we want to see this VPC. We can show it and see its properties and then what's attached to it. For instance, its root table, its security groups, and the subnets. And you can see also what are the siblings. So the other VPC, which are in the same region. So I will need to do this. Okay. So basically, what I can do right now is create a user. So let's say that we want to create. So by the way, if I want some help, I just type AWLESS create -h, and I will have a full help about anything that I can create. May it be an access key, a listener, etc., etc. So here I want to create a user, and we have to find a name for this user. We can. What's the most frequent first name in Poland?
Orgazmiusz. Piotr, Peter.
Piotr. Okay, that's what I know. Okay. Yeah. So basically now we can create an access key for our user, and the only thing that we'll say is I don't want to show to you this access key. So basically I will say save true equals true, which means that the access key will be just saved and not displayed at all. So this is for Piotr. Okay, and I create my access key. The user with the name Piotr cannot be found. Why not? So, that is the demo effect. Why didn't create it this? Okay. In effect. So, what happened to Piotr? It says that. Yeah. No. There was an error here. I don't know why. Let's try again. Yes. Okay. Now this is better. I don't know what happened. I must have the.
I think Control C.
Yeah, Control C or something. Okay. So now I can create my access key for my user. I was wondering why. Yeah, for Piotr. And then, okay, this is better. Oh no, sorry. Because I did not tell save equal true. Save equal true. No, that's it. Save equal true. Sorry. Okay, so now we can do this. Now we have the confirmation. And okay, so now we have this access key. What I'll do is I will list the access keys. Okay, and I see I will filter on the name Piotr. Username, sorry. Okay, and what I'll do is I will delete before you can do anything. I will delete that one. Yeah, maybe I should also this. No, invalid entity. I know, because I didn't say delete access key. Let's say I will do it for Piotr, and then this is AK. Yes, this is done. Okay, so I only have one, which is better. So, and then I should keep this. So, let's create also a key pair with my name, key pair. Okay, I have auto completion of that. for my name, which is Piotr, and I will create a keeper. I can ask for the name. The name of the keeper, I can say it, Piotr key. Yes. So generating locally the key and then pushing it to AWS. So what I can do for now is grant this new user some rights. So for service, let's say I will give him EC2, RDS, S3, auto scaling, and CloudFront. What I will do is AWLESS. Just to remember. So this is a terrible case of Face ID, and I have to put it the lock. So display. No 13, never. Okay, no, that's better. Okay, so so basically, I was going to attach. So I will force the attachment of the policy so that it doesn't ask, because there's a loop here in my shell. So I don't want to have yes all the time. So I'm attaching the policy with full access, and the user will be Piotr. And also I will add, of course, that the service is the current service, and also I will not sync, just to make it faster. So I'm not syncing, I'm just using the local graph. So here, what it does is it is attaching the policies one by one to this new user. So that's pretty straightforward. And then, when I'm ready, I can just run AWLESS, who am I? Oh, yeah, this is me. I have administrator access, as you can see. You can see, for instance, the log of all the actions that I've done. So this is AWLESS log. And I can, if I want to have a detail about a given command, I can say, okay, AWLESS log what happened, for instance, when I run, this is a revert. Okay, this one, for instance, I run 36 command. And if I say the log of this item, then it says everything which was created by that template at the time. So all the 26 actions which happened. So it's time to switch to my new user. So here I can AWLESS switch, and I have auto-completion. I can switch to Piotr. So this is done. This is pretty easy. So now what I can do, I can create a new VPC. So I can create a VPC, and it will ask me for a CIDR. So let's say that it's 10.0/16. Oh no, I won't confirm, because I also want to add a name to my VPC. This is not mandatory, so I could skip it, but I prefer to give it a name. So let's say that I will name it WordPress VPC. So now I can input my CIDR. This is the first time. The next time I will have autocomplete on that. And then I confirm, and I'm creating here my VPC. So now I can create my internet gateway. I can also have auto-completion on that. And so yes, I'm creating that internet gateway, and right now I'm attaching my internet gateway up to basically, this is the ID which I want. And my VPC is called @WordPress VPC, and note that I have the auto-completion on all my names, so I don't have to type it. So basically, this is what I want here, and this is done, and I have set up a new VPC, an internet gateway attached to that VPC. That's super easy compared to what it would take up to now. Imagine all the steps you will have required to get there. So what we will do now, we'll fast forward, and we are gonna run a template. So let's run this template here, it's a template which will create my infrastructure for running a WordPress, but not an easy WordPress, a load balance WordPress using Amazon RDS as its database store, so something which is pretty production ready and ready to scale. So basically it asks for my AZ1. So here I can choose EU West 2, and West 2 is a small region, so I don't have much choice. I will have EU West E2A, and the other one will be 2B. So here I'm gonna find a password for my master database. So let's try a password. So let's say that it has, let's say, Piotr Pass. So this is a very good password here, obviously. And then we have to tell the gateway, so we know it's that one. And to answer your question, now you see that all the results are well displayed. So for instance, this is the internet gateway that we created, and it's very easy to see it in the results. And the WordPress VPC, it's at WordPress VPC. So when I run the template like this, it will drive run the template first and tell me, okay, this is everything that I will do. Everything has been resolved using the constraints, the default parameters, etc. So I can check that this is what I really want. So I can confirm right now, because the RDS in particular database will take a few minutes to be set up. So basically we confirm so that it gives some time to create everything. So for instance, let's see what happened. Here we create the subnet, the root tables, the root. This is very fast, but the NAT gateway is pretty long. So what AWLESS does is display a timer and retry, this is a parameter, every 5 seconds to see if the status moved from pending to available, and we are waiting until the NAT gateway is available to move on. So that's also pretty easy. Meanwhile, I can show you what the templates looks like here. So basically, this is that one. So of course, you can add comments to describe what you do. So basically, we just set up a basic networking, create 2 public subnets in different AZs attached to the internet gateway. Then we create private subnets in the different AZs. We create a NAT gateway in public subnet with a fixed IP. And then we define the routes between the private subnets and the NAT gateway. Once this is done, we can provision the load balancer. So we provision a load balancer in the 2 public subnets. And then, when this is done, we create also the database. And the database then will be in the 2 private subnets. So everything is created by a template which it's like this. And if you compare to Terraform, this is probably 2 to 3 times shorter, and also does not describe the whole infrastructure, but just the new tree that you are adding. So, and it's very easy. There are few features, and once not so long ago, I was presenting in Berlin, and some people told me, "Oh, you know, please don't add new feature to the template language. It's perfect as such. We just want to keep it simple like this." So you'll tell me what's your preference. Okay. Meanwhile, this is done, and now we have created everything. So the subnet, the root tables, the routes, the security groups, the database, everything has been set up, and you can have all the IDs, which in blue, in cyan, which result from any entity which was created during this script. And remember, the template will be able to be reverted very easily. We can type AWLESS revert this log, and this will revert everything. But this is not what we want yet. We can check, for instance, that the database is well created, and we see, okay, we have our database here, which was the last command, and that's why we didn't wait for its status to update. And as you see, the state is creating. So the database is not yet available, so we can't launch our WordPress instance, which is left out yet because the state is creating. So what we can do is we can AWLESS check, we can have autocomplete, the database. The ID of the database is WordPress database. We can check, for instance, the state that we wanted. Modifying is enough because when it's modifying, it means that it's not highly available, but it's already available in at least one AZ availability zone. So basically, and the timeout, we can say 300, okay, we confirm. And so basically, it's still creating, as we see, and we expect modifying, and this is what we are waiting for to continue and launch our next template. But here, of course, it's just the Amazon delay. There's nothing much that we can do here. Do you have questions meanwhile? And because we are very close to creating the rest.
When it will be available for Azure?
Oh, that's a very good question. So, in fact, we don't plan to support Azure yet because the tool is highly dependent on the structure of the AWS SDK, and we prefer to make a tool which is close to AWS and which will be a perfect fit than having to support multiple clouds which are different and also in which we don't have experience. My impression is that to support Azure, it has to be a new project. The project may be forked from AWLESS, but it will be a new project. There will be many differences. So you can create a fork for Azure if you want, but that will be a lot of work, and this will introduce differences which in the time won't be able to be reconciled. So at WALLIX we use two clouds. We use AWS, of course, and we use also a bit of GCP. But GCP, the CLI is better, so we don't need another CLI. But most of our workloads are on AWS, and we use AWLESS for that.
So, if you could compare your rule engine to the one of Terraform,
yeah,
could you say something about it? If you compare them two, because both of them, like graph-based, they also try to infer some kind of what to do with the infrastructure. So
the difference is that our model is procedural and not descriptive. So for Terraform, you describe everything that you want.
But the model behind, because there's some kind of rule model behind.
The model is pretty close, although it does not exactly map. And honestly, our model is simpler. So we don't support as much features as Terraform does. So, but we are doing this on purpose. Our goal is to map maybe 80% of the feature and do it in 20% of the time.
For me, it's quite nice to see RDF and semantic web to survive in at least this small part. Because I used to work on semantic web.
So, by the way, we then you can be interested in our RDF implementation because it's our own RDF implementation in Go.
Oh.
And which is also open source.
So
you can check that, and there's the link from
because there's still this kind of untapped potential of these stores, especially if you infer something.
Exactly.
In this such a small use case, then you can get the best from semantic web because the complexity is not so big, and the complexity killed the semantic web.
Exactly. So now our database is done. I have 2 minutes left, I guess. So basically, I can just show the WordPress database. Then I can have its public DNS here, which is what I wanted. So then I can run the creation of my WordPress, which is the other script, and I can just give it the DB host. The DB password was client pass. Was that? Is that right? Okay, and the name of the key pair is Piotr Key. Then my subnets, so it's pretty easy, my private subnets. So that's WordPress private subnet 1, where it is private subnet 1, and the other, we support comma and lists as well, WordPress private subnet 2. Okay, and the VPC is WordPress VPC. So here I confirm that this is what I want to do, and finally I'm creating my instance, which will run, which is running WordPress. The only thing, of course, which I need to do is just list my load balancers. And I found this. I want to copy paste so it's easier in CSV. And I grab just this. And here I am. Okay, so that's normal. It's just setting up. The instance is booting. So we just wait a bit. We can check also for that if we want to. And then it will be 503, it will be 502 for bad getaway, and then it will be running. So if you have questions, and then in 1 minute, okay, that's, you see, we're making progress. Almost. And this is what AWLESS is. So basically, it's a simplified tool to create many things on AWS and list and use AWS. So I really hope that, just a few seconds, and that's it.
And how you follow the upgrades of SDK of AWS SDK? I suppose it's quite dynamic, the changes in the SDK. If there is new release of it, you're adjusting it like in a week or 2 weeks or a month or something.
So for the services we already support, yes, we track the changes almost immediately. Usually it's pretty easy to do. We have one file which is mostly a mapping of the AWLESS commands to the SDK commands, but there are also a layer of automation for each command. So basically we have a low level, let's say, binding, and then the high level AWLESS commands are a sequence of commands. But for new services, that's why I really hope that we'll gain new contributors, and that's really what we're looking for.
Some supporters on AWS side, like
Yeah.
from the company that, well, maybe you would have some, I don't know, preview access to the API or like developer access or
Yes.
whatever.
So we have very, very good contacts now with the AWS. So I was at re:Invent last week to speak about AWLESS, and they invited me for that. And basically we also, we're seeing them quite a lot. And apparently we have also one new contributor from AWS. So that's
Because I think it's the only thing which really sucks in AWS.
Maybe
Exactly.
you could, implement your way in the AWS CLI.
Oh, that would be, if you can replace,
the process, right?
if you can replace the AWS CLI, that's our goal. And
Nobody would cry, I mean, nobody would.
That's what
Yeah.
happened.
Okay, yeah, so I'm finished. As you can see, the WordPress is running.
Again, so that is